today is a very fun Amud. So we're Lamed Daled. We're gonna do Lamed Daled Amud Bet on the very, very bottom of Lamed Daled Amud Aleph. Let's just pick up from the last line of Lamed Daled Amud Aleph. It says Amar le Rava le Rav Nachman. So we had said there's a rule. Right? The rule is Ein Isha Mitaberet Mi Bia Rishona, that a lady doesn't become pregnant from the first time having bia. So Amar le Rav Nachman. So Rava said to Rav Nachman, V'hat Tamar bebia rishona yabra. Tamar, when she was with Yehuda, the Gemara is saying that's the first bia that she had, and she became pregnant. So how can you tell me you don't become pregnant for the first time having bia? Tamar became pregnant for the first time having bia. So Amar le, so he told him, no, Tamar be'etzba ma'acha. Yeah, we did it, but we stopped in the middle, really. It says, Tamar be'etzba ma'acha. Tamar, she opened her betulim with her finger.
Not with the two husbands?
So the Gemara is going to ask that in a minute. But the Gemara is telling us that no, she was mema'ech be'etzba. She opened her finger, she opened the betulim with her finger, and therefore, the first bia, she was already like, wasn't really a first bia for her, it was like a second bia because her betulim were already open, and that's why she was able to become pregnant. Da'amar Rabbi Yitzchak kol moachot shel bet Rebbe Tamar sheman. All the people in Rebbe's household who did this, that they would, all the ladies that would open their betulim, they called them Tamar. V'lama nikra sheman Tamar, al shem Tamar shema'acha be'etzba. They called them Tamar. Why? Because Tamar, who was mema'ech be'etzba, that she opened her betulim. So now, just a side point, they explain why is it that these the ladies did the So a lot of times they would get.
They lose their vision.
They would open their betulim before the first time having bia. Why? So some explain because they're after they get married, the husbands would go to learn. They would go away to learn. So they wanted to try to get pregnant before their husbands go. So they would want to get pregnant from bia rishona in the beginning.
Because they don't want, because when the first night they get separated, yeah. But if she's not virgin, they don't get separated.
Well, that's not necessarily.
Yeah, because the first night,
even if she doesn't have,
even when they do to the bed, whatever, they do bia, the blood comes because she's a virgin, yeah. The blood comes and they said this blood we consider as a nida.
Yeah, even if there's that's a different thing. That's dam betulim. Even if there's no blood, if there's gemar bia, they still have to separate. That's a different halacha. That's different halacha. Yeah. Okay. Either way.
Maybe they did it because maybe they don't want to get separated. That's what they're thinking.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. So now ask the Gemara, V'hahavu erve onan. Okay, how could you tell me Tamar was her first time was with Yehuda? What about Er ve'Onan? Yehuda's two sons that were both with her. Er was with her, and then he died, and then Onan was with her, did Yibum to her, and then he died, but they were both with her. So the Gemara says, Er ve'Onan shimshu shelo kedarkan. Er and Onan didn't have tashmish in basically right. They didn't have tashmish in the right way. They did it from the backside that there's no betulim there, wouldn't break the betulim. So that's why her first time was with Yehuda. So the Gemara says Meiteve kol 24 chodesh dash mibifnim vezore mibachutz divrei Rabbi Eliezer. So we have a machloket here. Rabbi Eliezer holds, this is not the halacha. Rabbi Eliezer holds that when a woman is, after giving birth for 24 months, when she's nursing, so you want to make sure that she doesn't become pregnant when she's nursing. It could be dangerous. She could stop nursing the child, and then the child is going to die. So when a woman gives birth and she's nursing, so Rabbi Eliezer holds that it's dangerous if she becomes pregnant at that time, because it could make her
become pregnant. Anyway.
Yeah, we're not talking about nowadays. We're talking about in a certain time, Eliezer held that it was pregnant because it could cause her to stop being able to nurse the child, and that child could die. So you want to make sure she doesn't become pregnant when she has a baby, young baby. That's what Rabbi Eliezer says. So what would you do? So dash mi bifnim v'soreh b'machutz. He would make sure the zera doesn't go inside of her. It would be together, but make sure that the zera doesn't go inside. So that was Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. So meaning Rabbi Eliezer holds that when a woman is nursing, you could do this. Amru lo. So the Chachamim told him, "What are you talking about? Halalu enu ela kemaase er ve'onan. This is asur. This is like what er ve'onan did. You cannot do that." So says the Gemara, kemaas. So what's the question? It sounds like er and onan, meaning Chachamim are saying no, you can't. Rabbi Eliezer is saying you could have bia and just spill the zera outside. Chachamim are saying no, you cannot do that. That's er ve'onan. So it sounds like er ve'onan had bia in the normal way and they spilled the zera out, not like what we said before that they did it right. So says the Gemara, kemaase er ve'onan velo kemaase er ve'onan. Meaning it's similar to the like er ve'onan did, not exactly what er ve'onan did. Kemaase er ve'onan dichtiv v'haya im ba el eshet achiv v'shichet arza. It's like maase er ve'onan, like the pasuk says v'shichet arza, he spilled his zera out. V'lo kemaase er ve'onan diluhatam shelo kedarka v'acha kedarka. And but it's a little bit different from er ve'onan because er ve'onan did shelo kedarka, and Rabbi Eliezer is saying to do kedarka. But either way, Chachamim say that it doesn't matter, it's asur. So bishlama onan dichtiv be v'shichet arza ela er minalan. So the Gemara says, okay, the pasuk says by onan that he shichet arza, he wasted his zera, he spilled his zera out. But by onan, where do we say that? It doesn't say that. So Amar, right? So the Gemara says, so Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak tichtiv vayamet gam oto. But what does the pasuk say? The pasuk says vayamet gam oto, that Hashem also killed Onan. So afhu beota mita met. He also died with the same death, meaning for the same reason. So whatever Er did wrong, Onan also did wrong. You see from the fact that the pasuk says Vayamet gam oto, that he also was killed for the same reason, for spilling out his zera. So the Gemara says, okay, Bishlama Onan mishum lo yeh hazara. We know why Onan, the second brother, why he didn't want to make her pregnant and he spilled his zera out, because he knew that the zera was not going to be his, it was going to be his brother's, meaning he did the yibum to his brother's wife, and whatever children he has is going to be the lineage of his brother. So that's why he didn't want to impregnate her. For whatever reason, that was something that he didn't want to do. So ela er mai ta'ama avidachi, but Er, the first brother, why did he spill his zera out? So it says the Gemara, Shelo tit'aber v'yachish yofia, because he didn't want her to become pregnant and it would ruin her beauty. So that's why he did what he did. There's a lot of extracurricular things to talk about on the daf. There's this whole Tosfot that talks about biyak shelo kedarka. It sounds like from our Gemara that this was what Er ve'onan did. They did biyak shelo kedarka, which is sounds like it's asur. Tosfot brings from other places. It's not so simple that it sounds like it's asur. So Tosfot gives a few answers to try to explain how come over here it sounds like it's asur, over there it sounds like it's not asur. Tosfot basically gives two answers. One answer is it's mutar if a person is not motzi zera. It's only asur if he's motzi zera. So when it says in other places that it's mashma that it's mutar, that's talking about where he does shelo kedarka without zera coming out. But if zera comes out, then it's asur. Tosfot's other answer is,
if she goes from the other way?
so according to the first answer of Tosfot, it is it's not asur to do it the other way if you're not making zera come out. Only if zera comes out.
Asur?
Yeah.
Why? Because they put it in their body. What's the difference?
Yeah, but it doesn't. That's the first answer of Tosfot. That's the first answer of Tosfot. That would be a problem. According to the second answer of Tosfot, meaning that because you're putting it in her body, in a place where doesn't belong. It's not ra'ui to produce zera. Therefore, it would still be zera levatala. Even if they put it that we did before the Gemara. I mean, there was a Tosfot before that talked about mishtamish b'moch, that if a woman puts some cotton or something inside of her, and the husband has bia and she can't get pregnant because it's going directly on the fabric. So Tosfot uses a lashon that's like mashchit zar'o al etzim va'avanim. It's like he's putting his zera on cloth, whatever, on stones and sticks. Meaning it's a hashchatat zera.
So to get pregnant, you could do that.
So the halacha is very, very complicated, but there are different methods of preventing getting pregnant. Putting a moch inside is according to some poskim, even if there's sakana, you can't do it. It's a very 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 big sugya. There are many different shuvot.
Diaphragm.
Three different opinions. Diaphragm is a little bit different than the moch of the Gemara. The poskim discuss it's a little bit different than the moch of the Gemara. Okay, fine. So Tanu Rabbanan. So the Gemara goes further. Ota. So the pasuk says that if a woman, has bia, afterwards she has to go to the mikveh. The pasuk says, "V'isha asher yishkav ish ota shichvat zara v'rachatzu b'mayim." Veisha asher yishkav ish ota shichvat zara v'rachatzu b'mayim v'tamu ad ha'arev. That if somebody is with her and is mazriya, she has to go to the mikveh. So it says yishkav ish ota, that a man is with her. So prat lekala, this is coming to exclude a kala, that a woman who's a kala, she doesn't have to go to the mikveh after having bia. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. That's Rabbi Yehuda.
You mean for the first time you're talking about?
Yeah, there's a halacha. This is not for. We're not talking about nowadays. We're talking about when we had a real tuma and tahara. People would be eating truma and etc. etc. So, if a man were to sleep with a woman, she has to go to the mikveh.
Before or after?
After. Meaning because the zera is mitameh. So she has to go to the mikveh. So Rabbi Yehuda says that doesn't include a kala. A kala on her wedding night after having bia, she doesn't have to go to the mikveh. Okay, we're gonna see why in a moment. Chachamim say no. It's talking about somebody who had bia shelo kedarka. That she doesn't have to go to the mikveh. But a kala seems like would have to go to the mikveh. So Amar lehon bered Rav Nachman Rav Nachman. So Hon, the son of Rav Nachman, he said to Rav Nachman, Lema kasavar Rabbi Yehuda haTorah chasa al tachshite kala. He said, maybe we should say the reason of Rabbi Yehuda is like this. The Rabbi Yehuda says that the Torah is chas, it has pity on tachshite kala. Meaning, why is it that Rabbi Yehuda says that the kala doesn't have to go to the mikveh after the first time? Because she this was her wedding night, so she put on lipstick and put on makeup and put on this and that and the other, and if she's gonna have to go to the mikveh that night, it's gonna ruin all of the things that she spent so much time preparing. So that's what Hon, the son of Rabbi Yehuda, suggested. That's why the son of Rav Nachman suggested. He said that could be the reason of Rabbi Yehuda. So Amar Le, so Rav Nachman said to him, no, that's not the reason why a kala doesn't have to go to the mikveh after bia. Not because it's going to ruin her makeup and all the things that she did. It's because she cannot become pregnant from that first bia. She only has to go, he understands that she only has to go to the mikveh after having bia in a way that she can become pregnant. So b'mai kamifligi, what exactly is the argument here between Rabbi Yossi and Chachamim? So Rabbanan Savri, the Rabbanan hold Shichvat Zera. The pasuk says if she has bia, she becomes teme'ah because of the Shichvat Zera. A person who sleeps with her and there's Shichvat Zera, then they have to go to the mikveh. So Prat lehe'ara. that's coming to exclude ha'ara, when there's just the ever goes inside of her, but there's no zera coming out. Just the ever goes partially in. Ota, and when it says ki yishkav ish ota asher yishkav ish ota shechvat zara, the ota is prad l'shelo kedarka. That's coming to exclude shelo kedarka. So they learn from these two words, ota shechvat zera and ota. Chachamim learn that she doesn't have to go to the mikveh when there's no zera coming, and she also doesn't have to go to the mikveh when it's shelo kedarka, because those things are not anything that would what's it called? That would cause her tuma. Rabbi Yehuda savar shelo kedarka v'ha'ara mishchvat zera nafka. Rabbi Yehuda says both of those things, that shelo kedarka, if he's doing it from the wrong place, and ha'ara, if the ever is going in but no zera is coming out, it's just partially going in. So we learn from the pasuk of shechvat zera, we learn from that those two things are not included, and she doesn't have to go to the mikveh after having bia in such a way, because they're not bias that could cause her to become pregnant. Ota prad lekala, and then when it says ota, it's coming to exclude a kala, because she also doesn't get pregnant from bia rishona. Now, just in general, this rule that a lady doesn't become pregnant on bia rishona, I think we mentioned before. It's a famous tshuva from the Noda B'Yehuda, and then he has another tshuva later that he learns the Gemara a little bit differently. He learns this whole thing. It's not saying that a woman can never become pregnant from bia rishona. Basically, he was asked like this. The guy, somebody wrote him a letter and said, I got married in this month, and we had a baby in this month, and I don't know if it really makes sense. I don't know if I'm the father. Am I allowed to be with the wife or not? Because maybe she was with somebody beforehand, before the nisuin. So the Noda B'Yehuda goes through. He says, no, it's still possible that it's from you. The months could maybe work it out. And then he says, either way, how do you know this rule? Because it was basically the person was asking based off of the rule. She couldn't become pregnant from the first bia, so it had to be from one of the later bias, and the timing doesn't work out. So Noda B'Yehuda said that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not possible to become pregnant from bia rishona. Noda B'Yehuda said it's possible. It just means that a large majority of ladies do not become pregnant from bia rishona. A major rove of ladies do not become pregnant from bia rishona. What?
What prevented?
What prevent it? Well, it sounds like from the Gemara that if the betulim are already broken, then it's not a problem. Then she could become pregnant. It sounds like the betulim.
I'm talking about the same time.
Why doesn't she become pregnant? I don't know if it's the blood mixing. I have no idea. I don't know. But these are the words of Chazal. Noda B'Yehuda learns that it means rov. It doesn't mean all. It means rov, meaning it's still possible, but doesn't mean every single time is it going to be that way. Okay, finagles, he learns the Gemara a little bit differently. Okay, let's go further. So we're by where it says, Ki'ata Ravin, Am Rabbi Yochanan. So when Ravin came, Rabbi Yochanan, when he came from Eretz Yisrael, Am Rabbi Yochanan, Kol shehata achar ba'ala 10 shanim v'nis'et shuv eina yoledet. So he said from Rabbi Yochanan that any woman who she used to be married and she's not married anymore, either her husband died or she divorced her husband, and she's been single for 10 years. So shehata achar ba'ala 10 shanim. That means for 10 years she's been waiting after having her, after not being with her husband anymore. Veniset, and then she becomes pregnant. Shuv eina yoledet. She cannot have kids anymore. So Amar Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman says, Lo shanu ela she'en da'ata lehinaseh. Rav Nachman says that's only if she doesn't have in mind, she never thought about getting married and being with someone. Aval da'ata lehinaseh, but if during that period of time, even though she was single for 10 years, but she had in mind to get married to somebody, so then mit'aberet, she could possibly get pregnant. Okay, so Rabbi Yochanan, we have a teaching from Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan teaches that if a woman is after being married, she's
Of
single
10
for
years,
10
yes,
years.
yeah.
She's single for 10 years, and
And
then
she's not beyond with anybody.
afterwards she gets married. That's it. She can't have children anymore. Why? I don't know why. That's where Rabbi Yochanan teaches. Rav Nachman says, but there's an additional point. That's only talking about if she never had in mind anything about bia or marriage. She never had in mind that she wanted to get married. But if da'ata lihinaseh, if during those 10 years she had on her mind that she's going to get married, then her it could be some mental thing it affects the cycle of the body, and it could cause her not to be able to have children. But if she's thinking about it, then it keeps her body going.
Maybe if 10 years she didn't get pregnant, maybe the uterus or something, I don't know, something happened to it. I don't know.
Oh, so it sounds like it's more of a psychological thing. Later on, we're going to talk about, if they're married and they don't get pregnant. That's much later. But either way, so he says, if she's thinking of getting married, then she could become pregnant. So Amar le Rava lebat Rav Chisda. So Rava said to the daughter of Rav Chisda, who was his wife. Basically, Rav Chisda's daughter first was married to Rami Bar Chama, was married to one of the Amoraim. And then afterwards she was single for 10 years. And then afterwards she married Rava. So Rava said to her, to the daughter of Rav Chisda, who's his wife, he said, he said, the Chachamim are like spreading rumors about you, because you 10 years you were single, and then you married me, and now
Maybe not gonna get pregnant. Yeah,
right, now we're having children. So Amra le Anna da'atai alach. She said, no, I had in mind to marry you, meaning I wasn't like one of those people who didn't have in mind. Right, I had in mind, and specifically to you. There's midrash elsewhere that explains a little bit more. Either way, Havai. I had in mind to marry you. Not midrash. Sorry, it's Tosfot.
You mean she's Rava? She was praying that Rava lose her husband, wife?
No. No. Tosfot explains. Tosfot brings another Gemara that she the Amra bat Rav Chisda tarvayu kabaina. She said, I want to be, both of these men are tzaddikim or chachamim. I want to be with both of them. So she was ended up being that ended up happening. Okay. Hahi da'atia lekamed Rav Yosef. So there was a lady that came to Rav Yosef. Amra lo, she said to him, Rebbe, ana shahiti acharei ba'ali 10 shanim ve'yalati. She said, I was single for 10 years, and then I gave birth. I got married and I gave birth. So Amar la, he said to her, Biti, al totzi laz al divrei chachamim. He said, my daughter, don't make fun of words of chachamim. Chachamim said that this can't happen. Must be that it can't happen. So you gotta be honest over here. What's going on?
So what's happened?
So Amra le nochri nivalti. She said, you're right. During that time, I was with nochri. I was with somebody not Jewish, meaning she had some type of bia, and that was able to keep her, keep her cycle going and keep her fresh. I think there's machloket. Some learned that she had. It was ones. It wasn't voluntarily. It was an ones that happened, but either way, it kept her cycle going. Okay. Amar Shmuel v'kulan tzrichot lamtin 3 chodashim chutz migiyoret u'mishucheret. You know what? This part really continues on to the next daf. This part continues on to the end. We'll probably have to come back to this tomorrow. So maybe we'll stop here. Well, yeah, we will. Okay, so let's do a little bit further. Let's do a little bit further. We'll pick up. Okay, so Shmuel teaches v'kulan tzrichot lamtin 3 chodashim chutz migiyoret u'mishucheret. So we said in the Mishnah before that if a woman is together with somebody else, so and she wants to get married, or she wants to go back to her original husband, there has to be 3 months separate in case she became pregnant from the original bia, to know who the father is. Right, so that's what we said in the Mishnah. In the Mishnah, the context was
Look.
6:40. Yeah.
You're going to finish. We're a lot earlier than 6:40.
So Shmuel teaches basically in the context of the Mishnah. The case was you had the two people who married two ladies, two brothers married two sisters, and they accidentally got switched.
Mm-hmm.
So we said they have to wait 3 months. It was honest. They're allowed to go back to their original husbands, but they have to wait 3 months before they could be back with their husbands because we need to know who's the father of the child. If she got pregnant, there needs to be a separation between this bia and the next bia so that we could tell who the father of the child is. So Shmuel says any of these cases where a woman needs to separate from her husband or whatever before she's back together to having bia, Shmuel says kulan tzrichot lamtin 3 chodashim chutz migioret umishuchreret ketana. Shmuel says all different types of ladies, they have to wait except for a gioret or mishuchreret who's ketana, meaning someone who converted or is a mishuchreret, it was a shifcha who became freed, which is also somewhat like a conversion, and they were under, they were ketana. Aval ketana bat Yisrael tzricha lahamtin gimel chodashim. But a ketana bat Yisrael, she needs to wait 3 years, even 3 months, even though she can't have children. So what would be the reason that she has to wait 3 months even though she can't have children? So it sounds like it's some type of gezerah, because a gedola has to wait, a ketana has to wait. So let's explain. So the Gemara says, "Uemai." What exactly was the case? What was the bia that she had that she has to wait now? Ibimiyun. If the case is she was married to somebody and she did miyun, so she had bia and then she did miyun. V'amar Shmuel de lo baya. Shmuel says in that case she doesn't have to wait 3 months. If she did miyun, she could marry the next guy. She doesn't have to wait 3 months. V'beget. If somebody gave her a get, it wasn't miyun, but her father actually accepted real kiddushin for her, and that man gave her a get. So if she wants to marry somebody else, she has to wait 3 months. So ha'amra Shmuel chadazim. Now Shmuel already taught us this one time. So that can't be what it's talking about. It can't be talking about miyun. It can't be talking about a get. So what's the case where she had bia and she has to wait 3 months? Damar Shmuel mi'anabo. Shmuel taught that if she did miyun, she doesn't have to wait 3 months. And natan laget tzricha lahamtin 3 chodashim. But if the guy gave her a get, she needs to wait 3 months. So what is this case? It's not miyun, it's not get. So what case is it that Shmuel is teaching us that she has to wait 3 months? So ella biznut. The case is that she had znut. V'gazru rabanan ktana mishum gedola. And chachamim were gozer ktana on a gedola. Meaning the case is a lady had znut and now she wants to get married or she wants to be with somebody else. So we want to know who is, or go back to her husband, whatever it is. We want to know who. I mean, if it's znut, she can't really go back to her husband. But she was mizaneh with somebody. She had bia with somebody, and now she wants to. Doesn't necessarily mean that she was an eshadish. It just means she had bia with somebody, and now she wants to get married, or she wants to. Could be she was single. The point is, we want to know who the father is. So she had bia with one person, and now she wants to get married, so she has to wait 3 months. So why? Even though she's a ketana and we know she's not pregnant, but gzera, v'gazru rabanan ketana mishum gedola. We were gozer ketana because of a gedola. Meaning, since by a gedola she needs to wait so that we can know who the father is, by a ketana also chachamim made such a gzera. Now the Gemara asks, "Umi gazrina ketana mishum gedola." Do we really make such a gzera that a ketana has to wait because a gedola has to wait? Vatanan. We said in our Mishnah, in the case of the brothers that married 2 sisters and they got switched, that if they were ketanot that are not able to become pregnant, they go right away back to their husbands. They don't have to wait 3 months. So Amar Rav Gidel Amar Rav Horat Shahaita. Rav Gidel Amar Rav says that was just a psak for a specific case. So the Gemara says Michlal dehavai. That sounds like this case actually happened. The Mishnah usually is not telling us this case happened. It's telling us this is the halacha. If it's a case that happened, the Mishnah would say maaseh with this and this, that this happened and this is what the psak was. It's not what it said. It just said here's the halacha in this case. So it doesn't sound like a horacha. So ela ke horacha haita v'chiluf lo shchiach. It meaning it's like a horat shah, meaning it was a psak for specifically that applies to this case. Vechiluf lo shchiach, because switching, this thing is not a common thing. Therefore, Chachamim didn't feel like it's necessary to make a gezerah over here on the ketanot. But in general, we would make a gezerah on the ketanot because of the gedolot. Okay, we'll stop here.